I don't think all brands should build communities. I think companies that build community around is when there's something that people can connect and help each other with. A couple of the things that I look for, one is just someone who loves people, someone who's infinitely curious about other people. I love hiring community managers who are excellent hosts. I want the person who at the party is picking out the one person in the corner who might not be having the greatest time and going over and engaging them. I want someone who thinks about experience end to end. Personally, I love a marketer mindset, an experimental mindset of how are we going to scale and grow that sense of community and belonging and make sure that people are getting tangible value from this. Especially now that we're going to have AI tools creating content all the time, the folks who are going to win are the people that can create content that feels human.
Hi, this is Shubham Tiwari and welcome to another Fireside Chat. Today we have with us Sarah Stockdale, who's the founder and CEO of Growclass, an online growth marketing training company. She's the host of The Growth Effect, a podcast in partnership with The Globe and Mail and in partnership with HSBC. She's the author of We Need to Talk About This, a popular blog and newsletter for millennial women. She's a guest tech expert for the CBC and CTV and a TEDx speaker. She's also a frequent speaker at universities, events, conferences across North America. Sarah Stockdale, welcome to the Thousand Faces Club.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sarah, what three words come to your mind when you hear the following words? Okay. First one, communication.
Open and honest.
Okay. Community.
Warmth, connection, and vulnerability.
Wow, vulnerability, nice one. And Sarah Stockdale, when you hear your name.
Friend, dog, mom, wife.
Wow, it's amazing. So your hot takes are really, really funny and insightful at the same time. You recently said that ChatGPT 4 is a think boy. You said that on LinkedIn.
It's acting like it lately.
Yeah, so which I found it very, hilarious and to the point. But jokes aside, do you think AI is going to impact community building in some way that you're thinking about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In a whole bunch of ways. The number one way being that it's going to become incredibly easy to create content on the internet, and so we are going to see the peripheral. We're going to see a lot of content on the internet.
That AI won't do, right? Yeah.
AI wouldn't do that. AI would,
Yeah.
It might make up a fact, but it wouldn't do that. No, I think we're going to see a whole ton of content just flood the internet, none of which is going to be imaginative or innovative. It's all going to be things that ChatGPT and other AI tools have pulled from the past. But it's going to get really easy to create a lot of content without having an internal content team. And so those of us who are building communities on the internet, who are building content on the internet it's going to get really noisy. And so the folks who are able to build authentic human connection are the ones who are going to win. But it's going to be very hard for the next little while for any of us to break through the noise.
Yeah. Before we come to, creating connections and, meaningful conversations that humans have, not AI, tell us more about Growclass so that our audience has a better idea. Yeah,
absolutely. So Growclass is a couple of things. First, it's a 6-week online growth marketing training certification. So if you are looking to level up in your marketing career, if you're looking to change industries into marketing, we do no acronyms, full community experience, no dumb questions, and we focus on working with women and marginalized folks. So if you feel ostracized by Silicon Valley bro marketing culture, this is where you can come hang out and learn hard skills in more of a soft way. We also have a community called Gather, which is a space that you can come if you are feeling lonely, working remotely, need a little bit of motivation, need some great coworkers. That is what we do. We do co-working and accountability sessions and masterminds and workshops every week for our community. And it is a ton of fun. It's the kindest little corner of the internet. And I'm so grateful that I'm hanging out there.
Wonderful. We'll put a link to the community and everything in the description. Also, the podcast, The Growth Effect. Who are you speaking with at The Growth Effect? And, whom are you making this podcast for?
Yeah, absolutely. So The Growth Effect, we ran it for 2 seasons. I can't remember.
Wow.
In partnership with HSBC and the Globe and Mail, and speaking to successful entrepreneurs about the hardest bits of building their businesses. So less promotion and more humanity and vulnerability.
Right. And you're making this for, who's your ideal listener?
Anyone who's interested in the journey to building a company.
So very kind of broad spectrum. So speaking of your, other hot takes and the kind of things that you do this really fun and insightful series on writing bad email cold outreach copies.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know, why we want other people to have the perfect hold over language or be precise with words while, trying to initiate conversations with others. Don't you think it's kind of limiting or, to use the word unfair to those who can't really communicate well? What do you think?
I think if you are asking a complete stranger to take some of the time, like the one limited resource we have, right? Time in their day.
Yeah.
To read something that is usually in self-promotion, you are trying to sell something. You should do that in a way that is human and authentic. And if you don't do it in a way that is human and authentic, and you don't work on those communication skills to get them to a point where you can connect with a total stranger, you are not going to get responses. So it's a waste of time on your part, and it's inundating folks with just content they don't want on the other side. So if my job is to teach folks how to sell something and actually execute, stick the landing, actually make the sale, I want them to be able to get through the noise. If I'm getting 5 or 6 cold emails in my inbox every day, I'm ignoring 5 or 6 cold emails. I want to teach people how to be the one email someone actually does respond to.
So do you think it's a must-have skill in today's age where you have to know how to initiate a conversation based on the profile of the other person, of course? You have to do some research. You have to understand, where they're coming from, in what ways they can help you. Right. And in
what ways you can help them. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's both ways, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most important skill of any marketer is that customer psychology bit, getting into the mind of someone, figuring out what their motivations are, where their pain is, what they're worried about, how they're measured at work, and connecting your messages to the things that matter to them. Especially now that we're going to have AI tools creating content all the time. The folks who are going to win are the people that can create content that feels human.
Yeah, yeah. And Sarah, you also speak at universities, you deliver lectures, and I also listen to your TED Talk, which was kind of, I found many parallels between my journey and yours. So before I come to that, very, very basic question, but I think it needs more addressing. What's the difference between motivating someone or inspiring someone? What comes first?
Oh, I think you need to be at least a little bit inspired to be motivated into action. So I would say inspiring and then motivating. So inspire is the spark of something, and the motivation is a bit of that fire.
Nice. And you come from a small town, Sarah. Me too. And just like you, I'm also into, building communities. Sort of, in a way, we are the migratory birds of this world, right? We pick up many lessons from the transitions that we make, and we are continue to, do that journey, go through that journey. And when we are brave enough, we also apply our learnings, right? That's why we are community builders. So I'm quite fascinated by the act of communication and listening, of course. But what do you think makes a good community builder or a manager? Is it something, your journey? Is it something that you learn from others? How do you become a community builder?
I think there are a few things. So when I'm building, I built community teams for startups in a past life, and a couple of the things that I look for. One is just someone who loves people, someone who's infinitely curious about other people, not someone who's speaking to be heard, but someone who's listening and wanting to absorb the stories of other people. I love hiring community managers who are excellent hosts. I want the person who at the party is picking out the one person in the corner who might not be having the greatest time and going over and engaging them. I want, someone who thinks about experience end to end, from the second somebody, joins Growclass or joins Gather, our community, or walks into a party, I want that person to be thinking, how do we make this person feel comfortable and valued and included? And I think that's a big part that we care a lot about at Growclass, is how do we make different kinds of people with different backgrounds feel a part of something. And so I think those, like, the infinite curiosity in humans, the ability to gather people together and host and make everyone feel a part of something. And then personally, I love a marketer mindset, an experimental mindset of how are we going to scale and grow that sense of community and belonging and make sure that people are getting tangible value from this place.
Right. And it's such a new space, especially in the parts of the world where, let's say, I come from, because, and yet it's not very new, right? Because we are from the tribes. We have always
the oldest
been,
business. Helping people feel connected to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. But when businesses enter community building, it seems like an alien concept, right? Because we know that it's like a ground up thing, like you build it from, like this, but not from the top down. So why do brands need to build communities, and what should be the starting point so that it feels kind of natural?
Yeah. I don't think all brands should build communities. I think companies that there's a reason for people to connect around that brand. So I think of a woman who used to be on my team at Tilt runs community for Webflow. It makes complete sense for that company to build a huge community. It's a whole bunch of people who are creating things, who are learning things together. And I think those are the best brands to build community around, is when there's something that people can connect and help each other with. That makes sense then to build a community. And then you have to be so insatiably curious about the needs of the people that you are asking to join this community and how you are going to add value to their experience. And at the beginning, maybe incentivize them to join. Like, we are all wary of brands trying to do anything. So being able to communicate that value, help people make that good first authentic connection, and show, what the why would you build a community? What do you have to offer folks? And then follow the lead of your community members. Don't try to impose the way you think the community should grow, because you, as a company, you're always wrong. You're always wrong about how the community should manage and be managed and grow. So consistent and structured listening to the folks in your community is going to be key to get started.
Yeah. And when, brands start to build their communities, they initially try to be, platform agnostic. They're not exactly sure where to host their community. So, I mean, you can take example of any industry, and like let's say B2B. If you're in B2B SaaS, let's say, for example, to be more specific, where should you begin to, host your community?
Yeah, party where your people party. Like, I think if you are thinking about hosting a community, you don't want to force people into a new behavior. So if you are hosting a community, we've looked at a whole bunch of tools like Circle. But what that requires is someone to log into an app that they've never logged into before. And so now not only are you a community builder, but you're a product manager. Now you are manufacturing teaching an entire onboarding system, teaching a new behavior. I don't want to do that. I don't want to force people into a space that isn't behavioral for them. So we host our community on Slack. It's definitely not perfect. We need a whole bunch of tools around Slack, but the folks who are part of Growclass generally already have Slack open on their laptops every day. So then we can kind of more seamlessly integrate with their day-to-day experience instead of trying to force new behavior on them.
Right. And how do you quantify or measure the impact of a community in your, let's say, in your journey? Because a lot of brands, a lot of people, individual creators as well, they are looking to get some kind of ROI, KRAs. How do they measure it? And
for us, for Growclass, so we know that almost half of the students who come into every cohort have been referred by someone who is part of our community. So the ROI for us is very simple. We know that our best acquisition channel is people referring each other in. So that's very, very easy for us. When I was building community for a financial tool, slightly less easy, right? So we're trying to quantify word of mouth growth and try to quantify, like we had campus ambassadors. So figuring out, the average social map of each of our campus ambassadors, how many people we can on average figure out that they're going to tell about the app, and then how many downloads we can forecast based on each of those ambassadors. So it very much depends on the product and the goals of that revenue team. Mm-hmm. But I would also say, like, if you are starting a community for your brand learning community, whatever that is, give it some time before you start aggressively measuring the impact of it when it comes to the financials of the business, because community takes a while to get started. And if it's done well, it will produce network effects for you. I've seen it in hundreds of businesses, but usually brands give up on it way too early in the process. So give it time and dedicated resources to let it have time to work.
Yeah. And, it reminds me of Daniel Pink, the behavioral, scientist. In one of his books, I'm forgetting the name, he said that, the outward incentives are temporary and they don't usually work in the long run. So how do you keep your community motivated? What are what are those incentives that are not outward? How do you, conceptualize them? How do you come up with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, if anything to do with the community that you're building is purely transactional in nature, it's not going to work for very long. So if you're like, hey, we'll give you $10 to refer someone, that's not a community, it's a referral program.
Program, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say you have to provide, like, your community has to provide tangible value in their everyday lives. On Friday, so my birthday was this past Sunday. On Friday, one of the instructors, thank you. One of the instructors for Growclass invited me out for drinks. What I didn't know was this was a secret plot by a bunch of our community members, because one of them was in town from San Francisco, to all surprise me and show up at a restaurant. And when you're starting to build a community for a company, you never think, like, eventually they're going, folks are going to, when they fly in from town, they want to meet each other and they all want to gather together in a restaurant or bar. But I think if you can help someone make one friend that's actually going to be a lasting connection for that person, that's not a transactional relationship anymore. You've added real value to that person's life. And that's one of the things that we care a lot about at Growclass, is like authentic connections and adult friendships.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, being a community manager is, you have to be very truthful to yourself. You have to actually have love in your heart for other people, right?
Yeah,
you can't
inauthenticity is easy to spot.
Yeah, you can smell it from miles away, and I mean, it's unlike other, other jobs. You have to actually care about the people you're trying to communicate. You're trying to build the community. So I think that's a takeaway from this interview. There are last couple of rituals we make our guests go through. What are the books that you'll suggest to, let's say, budding community managers, or anything that you're reading nowadays?
Okay, yeah, books about community are hard. I think it's called The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker is wonderful. I'm trying to think of, like, community focused books.
You can suggest blogs as well.
Yeah. There's so April Dunford has an incredible book on positioning that I love very much. And there's a couple of great newsletters that I'm a big fan of. Brendan Hufford's newsletter, Jay Akuzo's Unthinkable podcast has a lot of heart, and I'm a big fan of his. The Ways Why We Buy newsletter is really wonderful too. Caitlin Borgen's newsletter. So there are quite a few folks that I'm that are part of my network who I really admire the work that they're doing, and they all kind of touch on community in some way. And in essence, they are building their own communities as part of the content that they are building.
It's wonderful. My next question would be easier for you to answer. Who would you like to nominate for our show next, out of all those people that you just took names of? Or you can suggest anyone else.
I think you should have Emily Linetto on your show. She is the director of community for Webflow. She's a colleague of mine, and she's an instructor for Growclass, and she's one of the most interesting people thinking about community that I know.
It's wonderful. Can you spell that name for me again? Emily?
Emily, EMILYLONETTO, Emily Linetto.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this wonderful session. We thank you for coming to the show and telling us all that if you're trying to build a community, have lots of love in your heart, you have to genuinely care for the people, and just try to have some fun. Always remember to have fun. And any last words, Sarah? Any last thoughts on what I just said?
No, I love it. I love it. If you want good things for the folks who join your community and you want to make it a space where people can connect and have fun, then you're in the right spot. Amazing.
And if you're watching this episode, you're of course at the right spot. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, and please go to Sarah's work, check her out, check her LinkedIn profile, her work, and thank you so much for watching this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you. And cut. That's it for today's episode, guys. If you really liked it, please subscribe to the 1000 Faces Club and press the bell icon below so that you don't miss any videos from us. Thank you.